Hello, dear Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the joy of being a live stream, coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. And folks, we're very excited to be here. We are going to be a meditating machine today. Good times to be had for all. Very happy that you're here with us. I'm happily here noshing away at my extra thick and foamy matcha. Hopefully not coating my beard with fuzzy, foamy deliciousness. Real hazard if you're a beard haver. Folks, excited for today. Today is Freestyle Friday. You may know what that means. You may not know what that means, but what it does mean is that we are going to be meditating for our usual 25 minutes, and that is going to be based on your challenges and difficulties, and we're going to come up with a meditation based on those challenges as they arise. Hello, John. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. John, I just wanted to send out a special thank you, and we love you. I know that there's a lot happening right now, so our best wishes here. If people can, send a little love in the chat for John, just so John knows that we're here for him. Lots happening, totally understandable, as it does for all of us. I feel like we need a signal on the stream for when challenges are arising, so that we can get a little extra bump in kindness. So I'm just gonna flood the chat here for John. John's got a lot going on. Send a little love here. Oh, I forgot about this guy. This guy's fun. Let's see. I did it wrong. Whatever. Folks. So great. Thanks, John, for being here with us. 2020 CL. Welcome. Jean, welcome. Everybody, welcome. Sending a little extra love out to John. Nick here joining us. Welcome, 2020 CL. Thanks, folks, for joining in. So as hello, Matcha Meditators. We're all foreigners to most. So absolutely, John, we're here for you. Love you and understand, and hope we can be of support in some way. Okay. So today's Freestyle Friday. Excuse me. The matcha. Forgive me, that's so rude. The body is rebelling. Okay, Freestyle Friday, which means we're going to be using your challenges, difficulties, interests, opportunities, needs to create a meditation that is particular to you. So what is going on? What is interesting in your meditation? What do you want to discuss, chat about? I'll do my best. We'll see what happens, but I think we can do it. What's happening in your meditation? That's what I want to know. What is of interest? Challenges that are arising, or interests. I think challenges and interests are the two sides of this. So what's coming up for you? What are the pain points, they say? What's a challenge for you? Vibrations and unicorns. All right, well, that's vibrations. We can do unicorns, maybe. If I can get a unicorn in there, I get extra points. I don't want to distract too much, but maybe we can stuff a unicorn in there somewhere. We did improv last night, and we did an exercise called first line, last line, and whatever anyone is, dare you suggest the grapefruit meditation? 2020 CL. You know, I tried to do the grapefruit meditation in the last live stream, actually, and I couldn't get there because the class has so many layers to get to that place that I was just like slowly moving people kind of along the stack, and even that was like a lot. It was a lot of words. So we never got to the grapefruit. Maybe we will. Maybe we will. Let's see. It's also, you've already experienced it, so, you know, maybe it'll be less exciting. Airplane Jaw says, help with rapid and drastic switching of mind states. Okay, great. Full frenzy talking. So what John's referring to here, rapidly shifting mind states, Noticing what mind states are as they're arising is very powerful. Noticing, okay, and we can do it right now. We don't have to wait till the meditation starts. Our filter of the world it's helpful to recognize this is a mind state. We are filtering the world, period, all the time. Now, it might be less intense than like a furious mind state or a really joyful mind state. It might be a little more neutral, but just to remember that there's an experience that calls itself a self, and it's filtering the world through all of its experiences. So whatever we're experiencing now is a filter of the world. It is not like a pure, direct line of contact with the world. So that's very, very important. Maybe we'll do that because I feel like that's such an important skill to have, is mind states. If we were to beep up, define mind states, I want to do that beforehand so we don't have to get into that in the meditation. If we were to define mind states, it is the filter of our perceiving. So if we're in this sort of angry place, let's say, everything, we're like, pick up the cup, and we're like, oh, god damn it, it's always, and it'll wipe away all of the other details that are not that filter. That's a pretty dramatic one, but no matter what, we're filtering the world in some way. So let's go there. I think that's a really good idea. Anything else? Because sometimes we have vibrations and unicorns. Unicorns, which, let's be honest, I don't know if that's getting in there, but mind states, that's enough. I don't want to get too complicated, but if anyone else has anything else, now's the time to tell me. If you're just joining us, it's Freestyle Friday, so we build the meditation based on your requests, your challenges. Okay, folks, so, I forgot, that's the problem with having matchas. It makes you all like, during the guided meditation. That's fine. Looks like we've got a little barky mind state over here. So, P.S., here's a tip. It can feel very abstract. I want to talk about this a little bit first, because we can think about it and think about what mind states are. I don't know if you can hear my dog whining. Of course, she stops as soon as I start talking. But she's in her little cage, and she really has lots of energy, and she wants to get out of the cage. And so everything that's happening, right? She has delicious water sitting there in a cage. She has a play toy there. It's like soft. All of that just gets erased, and the mind can only see like, And we've all had that experience. It's very common. And there's a lot of experiences like that. So for me, and I want to talk about this one in particular because I don't know if this is universal, but it's, for me, is the place where the mind goes. When it really is sort of going into a loop, is a hopeless mind state. And what it does is it's one of the most painful ones, because we, to some degree, I don't know that we need hope. I feel like the opposite of hopeless is actually acceptance. Like, it's not hope, it's acceptance. So we go into a place where we have no acceptance and there's just hopelessness. And hopelessness and helplessness are very tied together. And to feel helpless feels very, very painful. So the thing to notice about the hopeless mind state, which you may or may not have any experience with, is that it's discounting. It discounts everything that is useful, right? Someone says hello, and you're like, oh, that's not, I wanted someone to hug me. Somebody hugs me, and it's like, oh, I wanted them to hug me and stay with me. And it can't see the part that is actually occurring right now, and it only sees the part that is missing. So this morning, I had a very mild experience of the discounting mind state, and that was, we've been collecting these stones from everywhere we've traveled, these beautiful stones. I should show you some. They're like big rocks, and they're gorgeous. They're just found in rivers in Pennsylvania and different stuff like this. And this morning, and I put a sealer on it because they were oxidizing, they're turning rusty after we had removed all the rust. And I put a sealer on it, and it was dull. It wasn't as sparkly as it used to be. It had all this sort of mica in it, and you can't really see that anymore. And I was sitting there like looking at the rocks, like, God, they're so dull. I hate this. I want to work on the rocks. Like, I want to find a way to make this. And then there was this realization that what was happening was I was not seeing the rock. I was seeing this one detail that my mind was fixated on, and it was discounting they were beautiful. And that's a little dumb instance that just happened today, a little silly thing, but that's what the mind does. It'll focus on the thing that it doesn't have and not the thing that it does have. So we want to be really careful to look for discounting mind that says this isn't worth it, because what discounting mind does, it discounts and discounts and discounts, and eventually the only thing left to do is like self-annihilation, because nothing matters, and everything is just pain at that point. So often we can't get out of that, but the key is to just know that it's happening and know that we've had experiences that are not that. If we can, ideally, we could move to a kind awareness, because a kind awareness doesn't have that preferencing. So that's just a little bit of background. I don't know if any of that specifically will come up during the meditation, but we will find out, folks. This is my favorite part of our meditation live stream. It's the meditation. Actually, that's not true. The Q&A afterwards is my favorite part, but this is my second favorite part. And so what we're going to do is find a nice comfortable position that we can maintain for the duration of the sit. What does that mean? That means we sit at the edge of our cushion or chair, allowing the knees to be lower than the hips. This is my hips. This is my hips. This is pretty weird, but sit at the edge, allow the hips to rock down just slightly, allows the lower back to rest there, the upper back to rest on that. And yeah, there it is. So folks, finding that nice comfortable position, I'm going to encourage folks to practice in complete and total stillness for the duration of the sit. No movement of any kind, no adjusting, with two exceptions. If you need to or want to or can't concentrate because you need to adjust, just wait 30 seconds or so, and just do so slowly. Mindstate. And then the next thing is beep up. If you have any experience of trauma or you feel overwhelm rising, immediately feel free to just adjust. Do what you need to with the body, open the eyes, whatever you need to do. It's important we don't let overwhelm actually, we want to listen to overwhelm before it's an 11, because otherwise it becomes overwhelm. So it sounds like the beginning of this meditation will have a little bit of dog mind state happening in the background. So let's, what we can do is recycle that. So the dog has this like anxious thing. It's likely that the barking will feel like a distraction. So just notice the system pushing it away, because it's a neutral sound, just like a bird chirping, but the system's like, don't want. If that happens with that or anything, just notice the reaction in the system. And that's a way to sort of hotwire our way out of having any distractions. There are no distractions in practice in that way. So we can be very thankful for the dog if it is distracting that way. Okay, folks, finding that nice comfortable position. And when you're ready, we'll begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths. Just feeling the body rise and fall. Each time we begin a meditation, we begin by experiencing all of the momentum of previous moments. In fact, this is how we begin any moment where we're conscious. It's as though we stop and observe our current experience and recognize that it's a stream of previous causes. We made many decisions in order to be able to be here. Many conditions made it possible for us to hear these words now. We've arrived with a certain energy level in the body, a certain activity level in the mind. And this current experience is an expression of all of these movements. And how do we change this momentum? Simply by soaking into these particular experiences. So feeling the body breathe in and out. If it's available, noticing all of the body sensations along with the breath. Not trying to gather every single sensation, just an average. And for a moment noticing we don't need to do anything. This is often something the mind tells us. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be changed. This is how we spend most of our lives. And so it can be hard to see outside of that momentum. Notice that nothing needs to be done. We don't even need to meditate. Nothing is being asked of us. And often when we let go of anything being asked of us, the mind will just drift, looking for some task to complete or something interesting to chew on. That's fine, simply coming back to the fact there's no need. And I'd like us to begin to connect with the overall sensations of the body, a kind of soft snapshot. No need to search for extra sensation. There is no extra, there's simply what is arising naturally, easily now. And we're going to begin by assessing the kind of mind we're arriving to this practice with. And there's a range between an agitated mind, a foggy or sleepy mind, and one which is balanced between the two. Of course, all of these are natural. None of them are a problem. It's best to simply know which is arising. And it's easy to assess, attending to the overall experience of the body, and seeing if we can hold this experience or stay with this experience continuously, without break, without agitation or vibration. And of course, this is a fairly high bar, given the momentum of our lives. So simply noticing. How long can this current mind stay with the overall experience of the body without it just jittering away or sliding into something else? And there's no judgment. Or rather, judgment isn't so important. The mind may be judging, but this is often just another form of natural agitation. The goal is not to force ourselves to stay with these sensations and to judge ourselves if we do not. It's simply to assess what kind of mind are we in contact with at this moment. In a way, this is the filter that the mind is operating with. The mind is either stable, resting on these sensations, or it is pushed and pulled, or drifts away. This is a very simple level of filter. This is an excellent place to stay if we'd like. Or if we'd like, we can look at a different type of filter, which is liking or disliking. Wanting or not wanting. At any given moment, the mind is either wanting, not wanting, meaning it's averse, it's pushing something away, or it's neutral. And while we can think that neutral is the best, wanting and not wanting are unnatural. A deeper perspective is that wanting, not wanting, neutrality are all simply nature. And preferring one or the other is simply wanting or not wanting that experience as well. Another layer of clinging or aversion. So whatever's occurring, seeing if we can know it. Maybe even label it in the mind, clinging, aversion, or pushing and pulling. Neutrality. Know it and recognize that it's natural. It's inevitable. It's a normal human experience. Simply noticing if some part of us could change what's happening. If it could wave a magic wand and alter this moment even just slightly, would that part do so? Recognizing that as clinging or aversion. Recognizing that as natural. Of course, the body-mind would react to the world in this way. Simply recognizing it as a kind of filter of the mind. Another way the mind will filter the world is through unconsciousness, drifting away. So this gives us 4 building blocks that any experience will be structured out of: clinging, aversion, unconsciousness, and the 4th is simply the absence of these 3. This very common experience of neutrality. Notice, is the mind thinking, or is it directly experiencing what's happening sensorially? If we find that it is thinking, it's not a problem. Just checking if it's thinking because it's clinging, wanting, averse, not wanting. Thinking because it's simply unconscious, drifting. Or is thinking occurring and it's simply known, just more activity, not a problem. Now letting go of that part of the practice and allowing the mind to get an overall capture of our sensory experience. No need to rush into it or get a perfect capture, all the little bits and pieces. Just opening awareness to get an overall sense. And recognize that each time we perceive, there's some subtle level of filtering. That filter comes in the form of the senses themselves, in the form of emotion, the tenor or emotional tone of this experience, even if that tone is relatively neutral. Of the mind wanting, not wanting, unconscious, or simply neutral. So observing this tone, this subtle filter. We can imagine if we were quite frustrated, or perhaps we are, all of our sensory experience would be colored. And perhaps even mentioning that idea, being broadly frustrated, will bring up a tiny bit of that color. A sense memory of that experience. It's not a problem, it's just the momentum, history of experiencing arising in this moment. And again, simply getting a sense of our overall experience in this moment, noticing the filter. Again, neutrality is considered part of this filtering. So perhaps the mind is much slower than it was when we began. Perhaps there's less clinging or aversion, or perhaps there's more. Perhaps the filter of self, of me, of I, is asserting itself. Or perhaps this is not noticeable. Most of all, simply noticing that this current experience is particular. It has its own flavor. And knowing from experience that this is different than other mind states, than other filters that we've had at different times. This is unique in it being itself. Mind states are notorious for telling us that they're the one view of the world, the one reality. So simply knowing that other people are currently having different filter experiences, that we ourselves have had different filtering experiences, even perhaps during the same meditation. Staying with the practice, staying in stillness, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes. Eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point as they fully open. And as we do this, perhaps recognizing the change in the experiential filter from a moment ago to now, with all the added visual information, often making the mind perk up, adding a kind of energy. recognizing that this too is a filter. And the mind will continue to make these movements all throughout our day. So letting this particular moment be the great teacher. It shows us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay. So what was that experience like? Johnny Now, thank you so much for the raid. It's very kind of you to join us here. Some folks here are not used to beep up is how Twitch works. Folks who are having their own live stream and ending can just raid another group, sending them on over. So Johnny Now, thanks so much for that connection. We got some comments here from folks who are coming over from Johnny's community. And before we read those, folks, let me know what that meditation was like. Give me a few tippy taps in the old keyboard. What happened? What do you like now? Noticing mind states as they're unfolding, maybe during this, the change, if anything is arising now as you're trying to type, and anything that's come up. The big key with mind states is to recognize that this what we're experiencing now is a mind state, and that is different than other mind states. Each mind state will tend to say, I am the one true mind state, and it is often very problematic because, especially with like a hopeless mind state like I was describing before, it won't show you any route out of itself. That it just can be very self-containing. That one in particular. Okay, so Swarm Off Dog says, how much for TTS? I bet you that's some slang I don't want to know about. Oh, booyah. This is Johnny Now. Swarm Dog. I'm just reading along here. Man is id. Men forever. I can't read it. Man is. I'm sure I'm just misreading a very common word. What is he trying to smell? Nothing. Yeah, what am I trying to smell? I don't think I've guided a purely smell-based meditation. I feel like the potential for, aversion is very high in a situation like that. Yeah, so what was that experience like? Let me know if folks want to jump onto the Zoom to chit-chat, voice style. Feel free to do so. Or just let me know you want to jump on, and we'll get your voice and video on, and we'll have you as like a special guest. Let me know if you want to do that, and I'll open up that camera. Link is in the chat. Or if you'd like to just type out your quiz answers. We should do quizzes. It'd be fun. Quiz question: what was your experience like? I feel bad about this puppy. She's locked up for the meditation, and now she's realized we were done, and she's like, I want out right now. Okay, folks, so what was that experience like? Jean says, I came to the meditation feeling focused and clear. I see where this is going, but also a little irritated. Well, which is gone now. I was thinking we were going like, I was focused and clear, and I came to the meditation, now I'm agitated and annoyed. I realized that I was feeling very gung-ho about neutrality, which I guess was a kind of clinging. Gave me a laugh. Yeah, it's funny because these things are stacked, and at first, Buddhism and meditation were like, well, neutrality must be the best one, right? Neutrality must be where we're trying to go. And it's a bit of a trick. Actually, part of it is to recognize the system is always going to have these pushes and pulls and wanting and not wanting. The deeper neutrality is to recognize that and to not need it to change. The system is craving right now. I don't need to change that. I also don't need to succumb to that experience in the same way. I will mention, as we're here, if folks have not followed yet, love to have follow folks, just because we can then tell you about special meditations, special programs that we're doing, and fun times. So I'd love to have a follow. Also, I'm very curious to see, let's see, I want to see Johnny Now's stream. So folks, make sure to check that out. I'm very curious about Johnny Now's process, because what he's doing. I'm very interested about folks who are doing meditation here on this platform. Personally, very interested. And I'll let you know, P.S. Well, I don't even know how to talk about this without sounding like a total weirdo, but shit. All right, I'm going to skip that entirely. I was going to talk about something, but I'm not going to talk about it. There's no way to talk about it now without it being strange. So just pretend you didn't hear any of that. What else, folks? What was that like? What happened, and what do you like now? Okay, no pressure. It's Friday. If folks don't want to give their reports, no problem. I'm excited to mention that I mentioned this recently, that I was being interviewed for a podcast. That podcast is coming out soon. I still have mixed feelings about being like, oh, this is the person who is interviewing me. What I'll say is the person who is interviewing me is a founder of one of the major tech companies that exists today, which was cool. And so that's going to be coming out pretty soon, and I'm happy to share that with folks. Super fun interview, super fun time, and excited that that's opportunity just to talk to people about the deeper side of meditation. Nick says business call, but we'll do this one for sure. Wanting neutrality is such a neat trick. Yeah, it's like and also the other side of that is like clinging and aversion of clinging and aversion, or the combination of like wanting and not wanting at the same time. So resentment is a really good example of this. Resentment is like, this person's yuck, get away from me. But we keep thinking about them. So we're pulling them towards us and then keep being like, yeah, get away from me. It's like they're not even here. I was working with a student who was an elderly gentleman. This is a number of years ago. And he was talking about a resentment with his mom. And he's like, oh, she's so like this. And I said, how old is she? Because this is an elderly gentleman. He's like, oh, no, she passed away like almost 40 years ago. And it sort of like, whoosh, like struck me. And I knew this, but it was just such a stark example that we hold the resentment. We are the ones holding this fight. And so it's an example of clinging and aversion at the same time, which is the most painful version. Like clinging alone, bad. Aversion alone, bad. Or not bad, difficult, uncomfortable. The two together, extremely uncomfortable. My other example of this is in New York. Everything moves quickly, and people's lives are based on like getting things done efficiently and quickly, in large part because the commutes are long. People don't really think about it, but an hour to commute to get to work is like, that's great. You live so close to work. And we forget 2 hours of travel every day is like significant. So people are often like, let's go. So on the subway, it's like a crime, unspoken crime, to walk slowly up the stairs, or like to block the stairs if there's no other way. You're supposed to get over to the right, and it's often tourists or something. And so if I'm unconscious and not thinking about it, I'm like, I'm running. I run halfway up the stairs. I love running up the stairs. It's a nice exercise, anaerobic, like burst up the stairs. And there's someone there who's like really plodding, going slowly. And so I'm sort of like rushing, like, oh, come on, come on. But I'm also hesitating, which is like, is like aversion. And I'm like in this stuck place. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like I'm trying to go fast, but I'm trying to go slow. And, ideally I noticed that and then cut that out. But that's an example. Let's see here. Airplane John says, I noticed it was very hard to focus, but a benefit was to just let the intense changes happen as just what they were, with building building a story around it, without building a story, right? Yeah, that's great. And that's excellent. And for you, especially because I know your practice, letting reality occur without needing to change it is very important. So right now for you, I would focus on the non-doing side and taking time and periods of time to let the system have all of its crazy movements. And if you can, though, recognize the mind state, recognize the filter, because we're dealing with a world that is inherently neutral, but the system will read it as good or bad, and it'll hyper focus on things that it thinks are good or bad and ignore everything else, this world of neutrality, but especially on bad things. the system will detect bad things like 7 times faster than it will detect things that are pleasant. I say bad, but really I mean unpleasant. And it will hold on to unpleasant sensations that neuronally like 7 times longer. I forget what the exact numbers are, but it is we're wired to notice and hold on to things that are unpleasant or the system reads as negative way longer. So that is the general breakdown here. All right, folks. So without further reports, I would, if anyone is either new to meditation or has any meditation questions whatsoever, now's the time. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait all the way till Monday, which is a bummer because, you're going to forget that question and all that stuff. So that's that. And if people want to chit chat, voice style, once again, here's the Zoom, no pressure, but it's actually a lot easier to find out about someone's practice if we're talking. Let's see here. 2020 CL coming to us from the UK says, was trying to stay neutral. Okay, we'll get back to that. Of some wonderful images while allowing them. Trying to stay neutral. Okay, so wonderful images are arising and there's an attempt to not be sucked into them maybe. But it was tricky and the imagination and fantasy kept kicking in. My tactic is to try to be aware of my awareness. Great. So aware of awareness is an excellent tactic. And so if folks are, we're using pretty technical terms, we mean this very specifically. Awareness is, this is going to sound like a dumb definition, but I'll clarify. Awareness is the part of the mind that is aware. Okay, that is a terrible definition. In any given situation, we can notice any sensory experience. Right now, I'll run you through a little exercise. Can you tell that you're seeing? Yeah, pretty easy, right? Can you tell that you're hearing? Yeah, I can tell that I'm hearing, right? Can you tell that you're feeling that you have a physical body? Yeah, I can tell that I'm feeling. Now, of course, each of those is different, seeing, hearing, and feeling. But the thing that wasn't different each time is the experience that knew those things. Each time you knew, you could tell you were doing one of those things. So it's the part that can tell or can experience what's occurring. It's not a conceptual thing. It is the knowing aspect of the mind that simply knows. Awareness also has some very interesting qualities, that it is more general than your attention, which will zoom into one thing and like isolate it. Awareness is much more of like a blob. That's what we're doing when we're watching the overall body. If you take in all of your experience right now, like one big snapshot of everything, it sort of requires, I always feel like my eyes cross out a little bit when I do it, but like I try not to do that, but it's an overall capture. That's an example of awareness. Awareness moves much more quickly than attention, and we think that if we focus, that's the best thing, but in athletics, it's actually that people will hold a big open awareness and they can move much more quickly, they can respond much more quickly, and a lot of being in the zone is being with awareness. So your description of being aware of awareness is excellent. It's an excellent strategy, and the key is, the main teacher I know who teaches awareness of awareness is, or my favorite teacher is, for that topic, is Utejaniya, and he specifically has people go in and say, okay, this is clinging, this is aversion, this is unconsciousness, and you're really knowing those experiences, not necessarily labeling, but you're knowing those, and knowing the system, knowing them, watching the system watch those. So those are great ways to observe those filters. Awesome. Little Liner says, in the past I've been super averse to thoughts, ruminating, planning. Recently I've been pretty accepting of this happening. I sense thoughts, but let them happen. I more or less am able to let them wash over me. I've also been watching the reactivity to the thoughts, and even that it's becoming more settled. Sometimes that washes over me. So the reaction to the thoughts. That's great, because first we were like, oh, I'm just distracted. Then we're like, oh, my mind is thinking, that's bad. And then we realize, oh, thinking is occurring and the system is responding and saying that's bad. And it's finer and finer details of what's happening internally. And even that is becoming more settling. Sometimes that washes over me. I wonder what the transition is about. Is this a sign of equanimity? A sign of equanimity. It's hard to say that it's a sign of equanimity, because it's sort of like, is this a sign of love? It's like, maybe, but equanimity is, in a sense, is the absence of clinging and aversion, right? It's the absence of, or the knowing of those things without needing them to be different. So you're observing the pushing and pulling of your various sense experiences. To me, it sounds like an increased sensory clarity. It's not necessarily that there is equanimity, but it kind of necessarily is part of that. You're just watching what's happening, and you're not caught in the stream of like, oh, this is good, this is bad, or caught in the stream of unconsciousness. A thought happens and you just get pulled into it. So yes, if you can stay with the experience, if you can stay with an experience, that is a sign of equanimity. So hopefully that is a clarifying statement rather than a confusing one. You then say, sorry for the paragraph. Apparently Twitch doesn't allow spaces. That's fine. It makes it harder for me to read, and for someone with dyslexia, that's always fun. So folks, thank you so much. So great to have you here as always. It is such a delight to be here with you. And P.S., I want to make a special point today, especially John's joining us from undisclosed location. I want to make sure that everyone knows that we have a Discord where we can chit chat like kitty cats, hang out, talk it up, and that's where we can chat and connect between streams. The next stream is going to be a Monday, between which time I will have gone to a sculpture park named Storm King, played paintball, visited some friends in person to have an outdoor marshmallow making contest, and then we'll have another stream. So folks, I want to report when we see you on Monday. I want to know what happened in your week. And before we go, I have a wish for you. So right now in this particular moment, in this exact experience, to notice the experiential filter. Maybe the filter is one of delight, enjoyment, having fun, interest. Maybe it's anger, frustration, annoyance. Maybe it's a combination of these, but simply noticing the way the mind and the emotions of our experience are filtering this particular moment, knowing that this is simply a filter. This is one way of relating to the world. And enjoying the decadence of all of this complexity, all of this richness. Interest in the experiencing process of being a human being, because sadly, there is a day when this experiencing process will no longer be available. This will be over for human experiencing as far as we know. And at that point, it's likely that we will potentially have some sense of regret. This is often the case at the end of people's lives. They regret, I wish I had been more present. Rarely do they say, I wish I had worried more about work or what people think about me, or thought about all the terrible, hopeless things that are possible. It's that they wish they had been more present and with the folks they love and connected. So in this moment, simply reveling in that experience of just being able to be here. Lovely, as always, to be with you, folks. So practice well, take care of each other, be sure to have fun, and we will see you very, very soon.